We've been covering the bathroom issue. The trans community in general has been embroiled in this conversation since 2016, when it suddenly became a problem in North Carolina. Before then, there were never any conversations about trans people using the bathrooms. I mean, individually, sure. I'm sure that there were individual conflicts and debates, but as far as the politics of it, there were not political discussions. There were not laws passing restricting trans people's access to public spaces. That's all brand new within the last, decade. It's just become a problem suddenly for these conservatives. And they continue to get more and more extreme with how they set limitations on this right. Some of them are setting it as a trespassing thing, oh, if you enter the wrong bathroom, then the place that owns the business can like kick you out for trespassing. And there are other ones that have tried to go through but haven't ended up passing, such as one in Arkansas, I believe, that didn't pass, that would have made it a crime to be in the bathroom at the same time as a child, as a trans person, like, of the opposite gender, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It would be a crime to be in the bathroom at the same time as a child, akin to committing an actual crime on the child's physical body. Like, varying levels of extremes. So those, frankly, a lot of the time don't even get out of committee, which is one of the things that's interesting about this particular law that we're going to be discussing coming out of Utah, which is not only putting a criminal liability on there, but it is also threatening with jail time. None of them have threatened with jail time yet.
Hey, real quick, hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. Hit the subscribe button as well and turn on all notifications. And also take a moment to check out the links in the description for merchandise and Patreon, where you can find exclusive free content.
But yeah, they are doing the legislative equivalent of throwing shit at the wall just to see what sticks. So here we have Utah. This one mirrors Florida's trans bathroom ban, according to Aaron Reed. And it's never... The one in Kansas, the anti-bathroom bill in Kansas that passed, also ended all legal recognition for transgender people, which is also what this one is going to do. They have a tendency to group things together. So yeah, like trans people in Kansas can no longer have our identification match our preferred gender, and for all purposes of collecting information about the population, we are going to be referred to by our sex assigned at birth. Kind of a similar thing happening here in Utah, apparently, which it was in committee and it's now come out to be considered on the House floor. So we're going to be watching this process. House Bill 257 ends all legal recognition for trans individuals in the state and enacts a bathroom ban for trans individuals of any age in many buildings. Yeah, this one is the first to be passed out of committee this year, so far this year. Sponsored by Representative Birkeland, it contains several provisions that would restrict trans individuals in public life. In a facility that's open to the general public, the individual's sex must correspond with the sex designation of the privacy space, or if the individual has legally amended the birth certificate to correspond with the designation of the privacy space, which may be supported with a review of any amendment history obtained under section whatever, can have undergone a primary sex characteristic surgical procedure to correspond with the sex designation of the privacy space. So this is basically going, I think frankly that this one is, in this regard as to who is allowed in which bathroom, it's less restrictive, in fact, than the one in Kansas, because the one in Kansas doesn't have any provisions for if you have the genitals of that other sex that you were not assigned at birth. In Utah, at least, if you have bottom surgery, you could start using the proper bathroom, which is obviously still an incredibly, insanely high bar to meet, and it's ridiculous, and it's obviously unacceptable, but it is interesting, at least, that they put that exception in there when someplace like Kansas, which you probably don't think of as being as extreme as Utah, but our anti-trans laws are more extreme, in certain ways at least. So yeah, in this case, they're making it criminal trespassing as well. So if the individual, under circumstances which the person should know will likely cause affront or alarm on the presence of another individual, or for any purpose other than the intended use of the privacy space. If you're trans in the bathroom, should you know that that will likely cause affront or alarm? I guess that's the premise of that provision. So of course, when it was heard in committee, the bill received good criticism. Some witnesses pointed out that this bill will require all people who could be questioned in bathrooms to continually carry their birth certificates with them, Because it's like, oh, if you've had your birth certificate updated, then you can use the bathroom. Cool. So for trans people, a separate provision states that they must judge whether their presence will cause affront or alarm. Yeah, like we were saying, it's just trans people having to guess how well they pass, which, to be clear, that basically is already how things work for trans people. If you're gender ambiguous, you kind of just guess on a day-to-day basis. Okay, I guess I probably look more like a female today, so I'll go use the women's bathroom. Or I'm guessing I look more like a male today, so I'll use the male bathroom. We already kind of have to make that judgment for our safety, but the problem is that it's the legality comes in. And you're taking a situation where someone is trying to make the safest decision for themselves, and instead you're making it like a legal requirement. And if you don't guess correctly that day, like I'm pretty gender ambiguous. If I guess that I look female that day, if I guess wrong, that's going to open me up to being accused of trespassing because I knew that I was going to cause affront or alarm. Apparently, there is another provision later on. Erin goes into saying here that the exceptions for trans people who've gotten a gender reassignment surgery and updated birth certificate are rendered moot by another provision later in the bill that would make it impossible to fulfill the birth certificate requirement. It essentially ends all legal recognition of trans individuals by defining sex in a manner that excludes them from legal protections. Yeah, she compares it to the one in Kansas. Like I said earlier, that's the one. This law could also prohibit changes to gender markers on driver's licenses. Yeah, similar kind of thing. Furthermore, multiple states are making it difficult or impossible to change one's birth certificate. 5 states currently ban birth certificate changes, including Kansas. Other states are considering similar legislation that would end all legal recognition for trans individuals. Under this law, a trans person from a state with progressive birth certificates, like California, could enter the bathroom of their gender identity, while a person from Kansas would not be able to, even if they are identical in every other way. Just because your state has decided that they're not gonna let you update your identification. You have so many trolls on YouTube who assume you are AMAB. Listen, here's the difference. I'm telling you, okay? If I have my hair like they assume that I'm AMAB, and so they think, oh, this person's trying to look femme, and they're kind of androgynous to me, which means that they must be a trans woman. And then, if I put my hair up, and I wear my hair like this, and I don't do anything different, and my voice is still the same as it always is, they think, oh, that person has cut their hair, and that it looks short, and it's up in a masculine style. They must be assigned female at birth and trying to be a man. This is the only difference, you guys. I'm wearing the same hoodie. This is the only difference. They really think they did something. I watched your shorts and there are so many of them calling you sir. It's hilarious. Yeah, and they call me bro, too. I've noticed that one. Like, sure, bro. That's why it doesn't hurt me to be misgendered anymore, because it's stupid. It's dumb. They are guessing every time. They have no idea. They're so stupid. Other folks at this committee hearing mentioned that enforcing the bill is basically impossible. Of course, in plenty of places, you have instances where there are cisgender women, like female women with masculine features who have been questioned in restrooms. Even before these laws started to pass, I've seen masculine women being questioned in restrooms. But again, this creates an entire dynamic where you could get the cops called on you now, whereas there was basically no legal threat. It's butch lesbians and older women who aren't taking estrogen but are in menopause, and so they start to look more masculine. Like, those are the kind of women who are going to be primarily affected by these things. Under the law, if someone suspects you are trans and reports you, you might be required to present your birth certificate and potentially undergo a genital examination, since part of the provision is that you must have had genital surgery. Like, that means that it's now on the table as a potential option to confirm that you're allowed to be in the bathroom by examining your genitals. So obviously, if this bill should pass, Utah is going to join Florida in becoming a do-not-travel state for trans people on the risk assessment map, a position held only by Florida after several organizations issued travel advisories warning of bathroom laws that could put them in legal jeopardy. So given that Salt Lake City Airport is a common connecting flight location, that could have profound impacts on the ability of trans people to move freely across the country. So don't drive through Utah, TLDR. Don't drive through Kansas really either, but yeah. I know a cis female with a very slight Adam's apple, and she's been harassed by tranvestigators 3 times in the last year and a half. They're probably trying to figure out if it makes them gay to be attracted to you. True. I wonder if Amtrak would be safe. Like, if you're on a train, would the same bathroom be illegal to use during certain portions of the train ride? When you're, yeah, if you're like We're traveling through Utah right now, therefore this bathroom exists under the purview of the Utah governing body. Trans affirmative businesses should start having non-gendered restrooms only. Like, why do we not already have that? Like, for most businesses are only gonna have a single stall situation, so why shouldn't that just be gender neutral anyway? Charged with a felony for shitting across state lines, yes.
Hi, thank you so much to all of my patrons, especially Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvog, Amanda B., Michelle Frateroli, Michelle Winter, Wellington Marcus, Danielle McDonald, DZXN, Suzanne Maynard, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Jamie Jam, Pasnell Infinity, Nova, Elizabeth Bartell, Sojo, Sarah A., Athiet, Kevin Young, Celeste, Desi Quiche, Liam Hodgson, Mr. Atheist, and Ella V. Nobody.